Hey everyone, it's Mr. Cinema Junkie here with my very first top 5 list ever on this channel. I'll be doing more of these as time rolls on, as I come to think of them. I'm trying to think of some, more original stuff, not top 5 movies of 2000, whatever, or top 5 actors, or top 5 disappointments at the Oscars, or any of that. You can read that anywhere. I'm just trying to come up with some stuff that's a little more different. This may not be so different, but it's just something I had in my mind recently, and I think I've got my list pretty much narrowed down. There is almost a dead tie for the honorable mention. I'll leave the honorable mention for last. I'll try to do an honorable mention on each list, which would be the coveted secret sixth spot in the five list. Does that make any sense? I'm hyped up on caffeine and punchki right now, okay? So here we go, and here I hope I don't make any enemies when I make this list. I should say in no particular order because these are all... Now, you know what I'm going to say? It's in the order I give you, and I'm going to start with the not so bad to the very bad. Okay, number 1 being worst. So let's start at slot number 5. I'm going to say slot number 5 goes to the movie. Hey, here's an idea. Why don't I tell you what the list is about? Oh, man. I'm going to start rambling off movies here and hope you enjoy the list. And then you're going to be like, what was the list about? Should I go see these movies? Sorry. Don't you love the low production value of these videos? There's no editing, no jump cut. I'm not looking over here going, ha, ha. Anyways, like I was saying, this list is my top 5 awesome soundtracks to bad movies. You know what I'm talking about when I say this. You've had that movie that you've seen where you're like, the music kicked ass, but man, did that movie suck. Maybe some of these didn't suck as bad, but they sucked to some degree. So here we go. Now that you know what the list is about, number 5 would be Judgment Night. This had a pretty cool mix of music. I remember it featuring bands like Onyx and Biohazard, I believe. A good a mashup of rap metal stars. Great stuff to throw in the CD player and just jam out to. And the movie basically was about some guys that go to I believe it was a boxing match. They go into Winnebago. They wind up wrong side of town. It was very weak, wishy-washy, watery. They have to run from some gang that's chasing them, of course. So that's number 5. And remember, it's the 5th one being not such a bad movie. Like Judgment Night, I'd watch it with the right company, but it's nothing I would go out on my way to see. Number 4. Number 4 would have to go to Last Action Hero. I remember one of the bands on that soundtrack featured Megadeth, another one AC/DC. You got great bands there. You got great music. What was wrong with it? Well, the whole movie was just one big cliche for everything that Arnold Schwarzenegger did. It wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't funny or entertaining. It was actually pretty lame. But the soundtrack was one to have, and I probably would have owned it if it didn't have Arnie's big stupid face all over it. From what I remember, that's what they had, him swinging through a window or something. Anyways, that soundtrack was pretty badass, but the movie was just terrible. Number 3. I'm going to give that one to the movie Singles. Now, this movie was supposed to be about the grunge culture. The thing was that it wasn't a reminiscent movie about a day gone by. The movie was pretty much made as it was happening, before there was, I guess, an understanding of the grunge culture. They took a lot of the Seattle-based bands and used the music as a soundtrack. You had bands like Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, the big names back in the days, all on the soundtrack, and really awesome stuff. Birth Ritual was one of my favorite songs from there. It was by Soundgarden. Chris Cornell's vocals on that were just right on. But it was like they were making a movie about a culture that they didn't fully understand yet, and it was just so haphazard and choppy, and the story was just all over the place. It's like they just said, "Hey, throw on some flannel shirts and some knit hats, and you're grunge, baby. You're gold." The movie was just weak and very. It was pretty much a waste of anyone's time to watch that movie. But I did own the soundtrack to that one on cassette and listened to it quite frequently back then. Number 2 goes to the movie Spawn. I remember when they announced that Spawn was going to be released, I was beside myself with joy because I'm a pretty big Spawn fan. I like Spawn. I have some of the toys. I used to collect the comics. Really got into it. Curse of Spawn was another good one that I liked. And then the movie came out. John Leguizamo playing the clown. Just, you talk about potential getting flushed right down the toilet. That's what they did with Spawn. It just got moronic and idiotic. Very commercial, very convoluted. They were just kind of like trying to squeeze too much crap into one deal. Too much crap into one huge shit pie, basically. But you got these mashups and remixes of songs like "For Whom the Bell Tolls" that were really badass, and Marilyn Manson's "Long Road Out of Hell." Just great songs, great music, but just too bad that it was like silk, a roll of silk, fine silk, in a porta potty. Just didn't belong. And the number 1 worst movie with quite possibly the best soundtrack, one of the coolest soundtracks, and only because of the band that did. If any other band would have done it, they would have never pulled it off. Never would this have made the list if it wasn't for this band. And that band, my friends, is Queen, and that movie is Flash Gordon. I just had the mispleasure of being at a bar recently where they were showing Flash Gordon on TV. I hadn't seen that movie since it was new. And now I know why. I remember why. It was just horrible. It seemed like just a lot of bad ideas one after another. But the vocals of Freddie Mercury were right on. And I enjoyed it immensely. I had it on vinyl at one time when I was younger. And then I tried to clean it with fingernail polish instead of alcohol, and I just wiped the grooves right off of it, ruined it. There is a tie for 6th place. There is a tie for the honorable mention. I'm going to name the first one because I think some people will agree with me. In fact, I think this one should have made the list before Judgment Night, quite frankly. Okay. I'm a fan of 70s music and that sound that a lot of the bands had back then, 70s and 80s, and this kind of embodied both of them. The album, I had it on vinyl as well, the soundtrack. I remember listening to it endlessly. One, because I had a crush on the star of the movie, and I liked her vocals. And 2, because the bands that played in it, I was a fan of their music as well. And that movie is Xanadu, starring Olivia Newton-John. They basically took a lot of good music and layered it over a lot of silly, flighty, goofy, early 80s fairy tales. They took Swan from the Warriors and turned him into a prancing ninny. Probably the only saving grace of that movie was watching Gene Kelly do a few dance moves, which was pretty cool. But you have songs like All Over the World, Suddenly, I think it was Suddenly was on that, yeah. I'm Alive. ELO was just an awesome band. I still listen to their music to this day. One of my favorite songs of theirs is Living Thing, which was featured in the movie Boogie Nights at the end, on the end credits. Also, the Tubes did a song called Won't Take a Backseat, and they did a mashup between an old swing band and their band, a rock and roll band. And it just sounded really awesome. It was really cool, but looking back on the movie, it was just, why I even watched it is beyond me. Now, here come the boos. Here comes the Mr. Cinema Junkie sucks. But when the music outshines the movie, then the movie is failing in some point. And I know a lot of people are going to tell me the music didn't outshine the movie. The movie was flawless. And that's okay. I can accept that. I can accept a difference of opinion. I actually invite a difference of opinion. But you see, when I was younger and I watched this movie, I was taken into this movie deeply. I thought this was one of the greatest movies I'd ever seen. I was just so moved by it. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And then as I grew older, I started looking at it, and I was like, what did I see in this movie? Some of the scenes were just overacted, bad acting, and I know what it was. It was that I got caught up in the fact that somebody had to die to make this film. Guess what film that was yet? I'll tell you. It was The Crow. When I first saw The Crow, I was completely blown away by the cinematography, the scenery, the stigma that surrounded the film, the whole Bruce Lee curse, seeing a person shot on film, or supposedly shot on film, that this man gave his life doing this movie was something that I had never really grasped on, never really let it sink in. Not even when it happened to Vic Morrow, I didn't let that sink in either till later on in life, and I actually saw the footage of where he died in Twilight Zone. But I think that's what captured me, was the fact that he died making this film. Brandon Lee died during a mishap with a stunt gun. But as I took another look at it, I said, hey, The Crow, I picked it up. I was like, yeah, let me check this out. I haven't seen this in forever. Started watching it, and I was like, not as shiny as it used to be. In fact, it's just a very, well, I shouldn't say very bad. It still had its redeeming moments. But it was just like this gothic mess. So, but the soundtrack, there's hardly a bad song on the soundtrack. You got Stone Temple Pilots, you got The Cure, you got all sorts of great bands with great music, moody, cool, very awesome stuff I could listen to this day and never get bored of it. But the movie I kind of grew out of. That's why it didn't actually make the list, but it did make the honorable mention. And bring on the comments. It's okay. I still love all you guys. It's cool. So, thank you for watching my very first top 5 list video. There will be more to come. Who knows? I might shoot another one tonight if I come up with something. So, thank you for watching.